Okay, you're live.
Thank you, Rosie. I would like to call to order the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency. It's a Board of Directors meeting. This is a Zoom conference. It's February 23rd, 2021, and it is 10:04 a.m. We have quorum. I will have a roll call, please. Mike Metzger is here. Gary Henry, here. Hans here. Mark Odell, here. Stephen Thorpe, here. Jay Churchill, here. Brad Walters, here. Dennis Rack, here. Let the record show that there are 8 members absent. We have quorum. I would entertain a approval of the January 26th, 2021 minutes that you have previously received.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mark. I have a motion by Mark. Do I have a second?
Second.
A motion by Mark, seconded by Stephen. Discussion. Review. Comment. Great job done by Rosie. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried unanimously. I want to take the opportunity to mention that we'll be sending out a link to an interview that our counsel, Mr. Peterson, had with our executive, Mark Price. It's an excellent interview, and please take the opportunity to see it. I saw all of it and could only find one error, so let's see. But, it was extremely well done, as all of Mr. Peterson's interviews are. So the opportunity to review that at your leisure.
Mike, I don't mean to interrupt, but we have Bill Caldwell, the superintendent, I think from Ripley, if I'm correct, Linda,
Okay.
trying to join. Would you like me to admit him to the meeting?
Yes, Rosie, you should let him in now. He's open to the public.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you, Rosie, for asking. And we can ask Bill if we'll take the opportunity to see if Bill would like to make a comment before we move into new business.
I believe Bill will be speaking. He's the superintendent of school at Ripley's. Mike will probably be talking at the deviation hearing for love. We'll bring Bill.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning, Bill. Welcome to the County of Chautauqua Industrial Development Agency. I hear that you're going to be making a statement during the deviation hearing. Is that correct?
I was not aware of that, but if that's what you need to do, I can do that, I guess.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, we'll give you the opportunity at that time. If I could move to new business A, which is Love's presentation by Linda Burns and Millen Tyler. Linda, if you could please.
Thank you, Mike. Good morning. Love's representative was invited to join the meeting today and declined due to a conflict in their schedules. They regretfully declined. They did, however, provide some conceptual designs for the new travel stop. Rosie, at this time, could you please share the site plan, which depicts the general layout? And then I will summarize the request for approval before you today. And then Millen will conclude providing the technical details of the resolution. So at last month's board meeting, the board voted in favor of Love's pilot application's preliminary agreement. Public hearing notices were sent in advance of the public hearing, and the public hearing was held on Friday, February 19th via Zoom and video recorded. You should have received the transcript of this meeting via email, including any public comment. The video will be posted on our CCIDA website. The UTEP deviation notice was sent in advance of today's meeting to the affecting taxing jurisdictions. We've discussed the project with County Executive PJ Wendell and the Ripley Town Supervisor Doug Bowen, who are both supporting this project. Today, we're seeking approval of a UTEP deviation and approving regulations for Love's Travel Stops and Country Stores, Inc., financial incentive package, which includes 20-year pilot deviation, real property tax abatement, and a sales and use tax abatement. My benefit to cost analysis of the project resulted in a 28-to-1 ratio, with regional benefits exceeding 31 million and New York State benefits of $1,428,000 for a combined net benefit of $31,798 million to a cost of $1,176,000 over the 20-year pilot. Rosie, could you please share the Love's elevations as Millen provides details on the resolutions before the board for today's approval? Millen?
Sure, happy to. There are two resolutions today. So after the presentation, I think we will have the deviation notice hearing, and we'll hear from any affected tax jurisdictions that want to make a statement. As Linda pointed out, we send out the deviation notice. This is sort of an interesting deviation because the pilot amount is $57,423. The reason that the pilot is at that level is because the company has advised us that they are entering into a host community benefit agreement with the directly with the town. So the pilot is lower than it might otherwise be. So the first is the deviation approval, and that's a straightforward resolution approving the deviation from your UTEP. The second is the final approving resolution, and because the town took lead agency for SECRA purposes, the approving resolution just acknowledges that and accepts the findings of the town SECRA purposes. So when it is approved today, we then would move forward to a closing Love's, and we understand that they are sort of anxious to get that going. Documents have been drafted, and we are well on the way toward documenting the final transaction. So that's those are the two resolutions that should come before the agency this morning.
And I just wanted to comment, Mr. Chairman, that this project we've been working with the town for a long time. That intersection sat vacant since I've been here. The buildings were falling down. Nothing was coming there. The town, in their wisdom, decided to put in water and sewer along Route 5, down Shortman Road, down Route 20, from the state line all the way to the existing Ripley system. That intersection will boom. This development that we're going to see here will be the first for everyone, the first of many coming to the area. And this pilot host agreement allows for some of the money that Love's would normally be paying to go to the water and sewer improvements, not only for that in that area, but for the plant, increasing capacity. So we're looking for great things from that corner there. I think it's just going to take off, and the town's very excited, and so are we.
If you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, I just want to recognize the hard work of Linda and Rich and Millen for being creative here and doing a project that benefits not only Ripley but the region and the state of New York. Coming into the state, the old Colonial Hotel was dilapidated, and they're tearing that down and building this brand new facility. So we're really excited about not only this, but what it's going to do for the future of that area.
Yes, it's a great revitalization project as well as a super project. So thank you, Linda, Rich, and Millen for an excellent job. Are we at the point in time to move the resolution 3A1?
Mr. Chairman, I would just, let's do the public hearing very quickly. So you asked if any members of the public or any affected tax jurisdictions wish to be heard on the DVA.
We have a gentleman from Ripley. Would you like to be heard at this time?
Are you referring to me, or is there someone else from Ripley?
I apologize.
It's all you.
I just didn't know who else was on the meeting and if there was someone else from the town or whatever that was looking to speak. So I didn't want to.
No, I apologize if you could please speak at this time.
So I guess I'm not sure exactly what it is I'm supposed to be commenting on. Am I commenting on the size of the pilot or the project as a whole? So I'll admit my ignorance because this is my first pilot I've had to work with. So,
Millen, why don't you explain it to Bill what this is all about so he has a better feel?
Sure, and there's no obligation to comment, so feel free to not. It is not expected or required. This public hearing or this deviation hearing is for anyone who is interested in commenting on the deviation. The IDA has a UTEP. We are deviating from it for the reasons previously discussed, and if any affected tax jurisdiction wants to make a comment, either pro or con, my understanding is that the town is in favor of this, then they may do so. But again, there's no obligation either way.
okay. Can you explain? I understand the deviation and why. Can you explain the difference between what the pilot would have been without the deviation?
Sure, Bill. I'll take that one, Millen. So typically, Bill, when we do a standard project like this, it's a 10-year deal, and it starts out with a 90% reduction the first 2 years. Years 3 and 4, it's 80%, going up to years 9 and 10 at 50%. So that results in approximately a 75% reduction in property taxes in 10 years. That's our standard uniform tax exempt policy for a manufacturer. For a project like this, where we're bringing people in from out of state, coming in, we're hoping to drag them off the thruway and stop. We would have a more generous policy. That would be a 15-year deal, where for the first 5 years they wouldn't pay anything except for the taxes on the land. So that's one policy. This one is completely different, and that's why we're having a deviation. They're going to end up paying about 85 to 86% of what they normally would have paid. So they're not getting a huge break. They're getting some break, and they're getting some sales tax relief. But some of that payment is going directly to the town in the form of a host agreement, and then the pilot payments were then reduced so that the town can take this money for the water and sewer infrastructure. We thought that was a great idea and a great catalyst, again, just to let this corner explode. As I said, this will run water and sewer all the way down to the state line, all the way up Route 5 to Shortman, down Shortman to Route 20, and then down 20 to connect into the Ripley system. So it's going to be a lot of happy people. Some people aren't so happy if you just put a septic tank in and now you have to hook up. You might not be happy. But if you're the one that has a crumbling septic tank and a bad well and can't drink your own water, you think this is great. But this will be a big economic development engine for the town. So out of that $57,000 pilot bill, the school gets the majority of that. You get $33,517 guaranteed, for the 20-year term. So that's how it affects us.
Rich, do we know, Hans, do we know how many property owners will be impacted by having to hook into the sewer?
There are 92 units on the water and sewer line, Hans, which at the end of the day isn't a lot, and Doug Bowen did an excellent job getting all kinds of grants, but they had some issues with the plant too that weren't covered by any of the grants. The plant needed upgraded. They had some lines collapsed in the town. I mean, anyone that's driven downtown Ripley sees what's going on there. So they're going to do some improvements to the plant and that as well. But we expect that corner just to explode there. We all know there's an adult bookstore there. My understanding is that there's a lot of interest in buying that, getting that out of there, and doing some other development. Gateway Center, I know, is looking at that corner as well. And so just great opportunity for Ripley.
Okay, thanks, Rich. Thank you.
Hope that answered your question, Bill.
Yeah,
anything else
absolutely.
I can say to Bill, too. So.
It did. My only other question is, am I correct in that the value of the project, when it's all said and done for tax purposes, is going to be around $3 million? Is that correct?
We assumed that the assessed value would be around $6 million, but again, we're not assessors. what I did there, Bill, was I went to the other 3 Love's truck stops they built along Route 90, took their construction cost and compared that to the assessed value. And the town agreed, yeah, we think that's what it'll be.
Okay.
And so that's what Love's had no problem with that assessment, basing their payment on $6 million, not $3 million. So that's a lot of money. And they, they want to be good community citizens. They really want to be, involved in the community they're in. So we've seen that in their other stores as well.
Sure. And, and being in Ripley, we understand the value of bringing this company and the revenue to the area. It also does help pay for the water improvements. I've been at a few town board meetings when people were questioning the sewer project and why are we doing it and the cost. And I absolutely understand the relief this provides, and I appreciate that as well. So, by no means am I going to stand in the way of that development. I love my job, and I don't want to cause that job to not be successful because I'm standing in the way of growth in Ripley. That's for sure. So, just trying to do my due diligence and make sure that I can present that to my board and explain it, so they understand why we're taking the money we are. And of course, the paper has said it's going to be a lesser amount than normal, and of course, that perks everyone's ears up because tax revenue is important, and every little bit helps in a town our size in Ripley. So that's all I have.
Well, thank you, Bill, and I apologize for putting you on the spot, but your questions were very pertinent and informative. And what we like to do is look at the incremental taxes that will be brought in from a project such as this, because without it, you would be at zero. So, and for the longevity of a project such as this, as it would continue to feed both all the taxing districts within the area. So, are there any other individuals that would like to, or board members that would like to comment or have a question regarding this deviation here?
I just had one more question, Hans. I saw in the public comments that someone asked about electric vehicle charging stations and whether that was in Love's plans, and they needed to get back to us. I just didn't know whether that was addressed or not. It's a little bit of a...
Yes, I'm sorry. I did reach out to Love's following the public hearing, and at this point, they do not have plans for the electric vehicle charging stations. Something that they might consider in the future, but early on, that's not in their plans. Thanks, Hans.
Question.
Mr. Chairman, this is Millen again. It's not on the public hearing, but I should have mentioned earlier in the approval resolution. One of the things that the IDA members are being asked to conclude is that this is an exception to the retail sales exception. As we all recall, there's a prohibition on IDAs doing projects where more than 1/3 of the project cost is devoted toward retail sales. And in this case, it'd be close to 100%. However, there are a couple of notable exceptions, 2 of which are applicable here. One, goods or services not readily available in the community. And that is it's up to the board to determine, but we thought that was the case here. And also, probably even more importantly, this is a tourist destination because it will attract a, quote, significant number of visitors from outside the economic development area. This being a travel stop certainly seems to do that. So those are also in the resolution, and that's a little bit different than what you usually do. So I should have pointed that out earlier.
No, thank you, Millen, for clarifying that. Any other questions of Millen or Linda? I guess then I would formally close the deviation hearing. Is that correct?
Yep, and then take the resolutions.
And then move to the resolution. Let's see, Gary, if you could please move resolution 3A1, please.
Sure, Mr. Chairman. So I move resolution 02-23-21-1, Love's pilot deviation approval resolution.
Thank you. We have a motion by Gary. Do we have a second?
Second.
seconded by Dennis. Any further discussion? Comments? All right, I will take a roll call vote, please. Mike, aye. Gary Henry,
Aye.
Hans Sauer,
Aye.
Mark Odell,
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe,
Aye.
Jay Churchill,
Aye.
Dennis Reddick,
Aye.
Brad Walters.
Aye.
Let the record show that there are 8 votes in the affirmative. Motion carried unanimously. Stephen, if I could please ask you to move new business A2.
Resolution 02-23-21-02. Love's final resolution.
Motion by Stephen. Do we have a second?
Second.
Motion made by Stephen, seconded by Dennis. Any further discussion, questions, comments? Hearing none, I will have a roll call vote, please. Mike Metzger votes aye. Gary Henry,
Aye.
Hans Sauer,
Aye.
Mark Odell,
Aye.
Stephen Thorpe,
Aye.
Jay Churchill,
Aye.
Dennis Rack,
Aye.
Brad Walters.
Aye.
Let the record show there are 8 votes in the affirmative. Motion carried unanimously. I have to apologize to who I call on, but it's based on who's at the top of my screen. It's a very unusual situation. Also, I'd like to, I'll ask Mark Odell to present new business B, as this was just recently discussed and recommended by the governance committee.
Yep. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, under new business B, Code of Ethics Training. So we discussed this in our governance committee. This is a policy and it's been adopted at the county level for a number of years and has been recommended to other agencies, commissions, and boards that serve and or advise the county as well. Obviously, the Industrial Development Agency of Chautauqua, CREDC, CRC, all play a vital role in the workings of Chautauqua County, and just keep everyone on the same page and singing from the same sheet of music, as we always say. We felt this ethics training would be a good carryover to all boards, commissions, and including IDA, CREDC, and CRT. So it's a relatively light lift. I believe Rosie has already sent out copies of the PowerPoint training, just a review on a PowerPoint and a signatory that acknowledging that you read through it, understand it, and then we file it away. So thank you.
Thank you, Mark. Very well done. And this is both for any board members or staff. As a public authority, this is recommended. It was recommended by both our council and governance committee. So thank you, Mark. I'm going to move to agenda item 4, the executive director's report. I have to thank Mark for sending out a summary, but very inclusive history of what took place recently and what we're looking forward to. And I'll ask him to present that at this time. But you had received it prior to this meeting. So thank you, Mark.
Mr. Metzger, can I jump in for a second? Are you done with Ripley and the Loves discussion? Not that I don't like what you're doing and interested. But there's other things I could be heading off to if you're done with the Ripley piece.
Yes, we thank you. Your time is valuable, but we appreciate you attending this meeting. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, everyone.
Hey, Bill.
Have a great day. Thank you.
So thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm not going to make I think the same error that I did last year. I went on and on and on, and I know everyone's time is precious. And since I already sent out the report, I know you probably all have next year nightstands and you can read that on your leisure. I'm just going to kind of hit the highlights. And, I want to thank, it wasn't just me that put this together. The business development managers and others helped. So thank you for doing that. I did want to say that, obviously we had a lot of challenges in 2020. It's been about a year, by the way, since the pandemic hit us. In some ways, it feels like a lot longer. In some ways, it feels that it hasn't been that long. But we've been really busy, and I feel like we've made lemonade out of lemons here. While we had these challenges, it actually created a number of opportunities for us that I know you're all aware of. So kudos to the staff, our consultants, others. Everyone's done a great job. We have a great team. We've had a very productive year. This will be the subject, by the way, of I've been doing this this monthly article in the Post Journal and the Observer called Building Chautauqua, and I'm going to condense this report down, and that will be the subject of the March column. So look out for that. What else? Before I go any further, I want to introduce Christy Kathman, who's on this call with us. Hi, Christy. So Christy just joined our Partnership for Economic Growth team as the South County Economic Development Specialist. She will be concentrating on the strategic business plan and other South County projects. Christy was with Jamestown Renaissance Corporation for quite a few years. Has some good experience. Everyone really likes her. She works hard. She's from Jamestown. She's got a great family. So welcome to the team, Christy. Thanks for joining us.
Yes, thanks for having me. I'm very excited about it.
We're excited too. Thank you. So anyway, and so I'll kind of run through this fairly quickly, and then at the end, if anybody has any questions, we can answer those. So we'll start with real quick. In starting off at the beginning of the year, I'm going to go quick. Put on your seatbelts. We did an amending resolution for RON Ventures. That was a $4.3 million project. Creating 16 jobs, and that was to purchase equipment and undertake needed renovations at their Faulkner facility. In March, we did a final resolution for Artura. That was a $7.3 million project to create 50 jobs, they're looking to expand their Los Angeles-based architectural ceiling production operation. COVID has kind of put the brakes on that, but we're still hoping to move ahead with that. We did in about April. We contacted the EDA and we asked if we could use $250,000 from our LTEC revolving loan fund to create an emergency working capital loan program. We created a 2-page application. They gave us the okay. We created a 2-page application. This was, intended to be an expedited process so businesses could get the working capital they need to, pay their people and pay the bills. We moved ahead with that, and within 5 or 6 weeks, and Linda Burns played a big role in this. We're able to lend out to 24 businesses $10,000 each. So $240,000 went out the door to help, people like let me see here, Merit Wineries, Cleaners of Chautauqua, 3C's Catering, Labyrinth Press Room, Faulkner Hotel, others. So that was a very successful program. That really kind of laid the groundwork for the EDA later on coming back to us and inviting us to apply for a much larger grant. We also, at that point, we're hearing from businesses about, and obviously from the state, about the need to protect their workers and their customers. So we created a program where we match businesses and others 50-50. The cost of the personal protective equipment they needed, things like face masks and thermometers and face shields and tape and barriers and other stuff to set up their work space to protect their workers and customers. We solicited funding from the foundations. We had Debbie Foundation, the Northern Chicago Community Foundation, the Rotary Club match our funding of about $12,500. So we got a $12,500 match. We contracted with Jamestown Community College, and they went in and for a number of these businesses provided technical assistance and recommendations on what they needed to do in order to protect their workers and customers. So we had 34 companies take advantage of this. People like Alta Pack and Rainbow Parrot, Bailey Manufacturing, Fieldbrook Foods, Wells, a Rand Machine, and Domus Fair up in Fredonia here, Shorewood, Shaw Bucks, others. So that resulted in over $20,000, $24,000 going out to help these businesses. We also did a deal with ECR Properties, a $2.2 million sales tax exemption as a pilot, and that was for new capital investment at their Dunkirk facility. $2 million of that was to replace equipment and approximately $300,000 to do some upgrades to the facility. Again, that was $2.2 million and 71 jobs retained. Peachtree Baking, almost a $13 million deal, which was a mortgage tax exemption, sales tax exemption, to establish a new soft cookie commercial baking processing facility in Silver Creek, and that will create 79 jobs. We're still talking with them. Things are still moving ahead. They're seeking bank financing still, so we hope that still comes to fruition. In June, we accepted a grant from the Appalachian Community Capital for $115,000 to help us with to respond to the COVID-19. We did a deal in July with St. George, $1 million deal, and that was to do a small-scale solar project. Also in July, Abundance Solar, we approved a resolution for a $4.4 million project to create 5 jobs. That's a 3.2 megawatt solar project in the town of Portland. We also did let's see here. We did an approval to expedite or to undertake an eminent domain for the access to the Refresco freezer project. We approved a deal with Highwit Corporation to purchase the Cassadaga Quick Fill in Denison Enterprises in Cassadaga. That was a $1.3 million project, which will create 3 jobs and retain 8. And that was an LTEC revolving loan project. September is when we heard from the EDA. Again, we were invited by the EDA to apply for a $10 million grant to set up the low interest loan program, revolving loan fund, if you will. And ultimately, we were approved for that. And I'll talk about that in a little bit more. In October, we actually did our first round of EDA RLF CARES Act funding. And that resulted in spending down about $5.4 million of that fund. And it was 24 companies and not-for-profits that took advantage of that first round. And that resulted in the creation of 105 jobs and 1,186 jobs retained. And that was people like Excelco, Newbrook, and Artone, and Kimber, Manufacturing, Pucci Carpet, Art Wholesale, Big Inlet Brewing, Shawbucks, and others. Again, there was a combination of working capital, project funding in different sectors, from manufacturing to agriculture to small businesses to tourism, hospitality. So I'm really proud of how we reacted to that and how we set up a system for reviewing those projects and getting those approved. So again, that was $5.4 million in that first round. Also in November, we approved a sales tax, mortgage tax, and a pilot for a Hanover PV 5 megawatt solar farm in Silver Creek. And in December, we approved an LTEC revolving loan for KGPHG, which is Premier Precision. It's a $953,000 project to create 35 to 50 jobs over 3 years. And that called property acquisition and expansion, about a 7,000 square foot expansion to bridge their main building and a 5,000 square foot outbuilding on the property, and also to upgrade their security systems. So that's kind of the projects, the pilots, the LTEC revolving loan fund, the PPE grant program, round one of the EDA funding, and all said and done, we were able to serve directly 91 businesses and agencies and not-for-profit through these various sources. So the total investment approved or committed in 2020 through all this was about almost $47 million in investment. Total full-time jobs to be created over 3 years, 296, almost 300. And jobs retained, 1,500. So that's a really, I think, pretty impressive year that we had, considering all the challenges of COVID. I want to briefly just kind of go over some of the other things that we've undertook here and continue to outside of the incentives. And I'll be very brief. We launched the Partnership for Economic Growth. Again, kudos to Nate Aldrich, Monica Simpson, Christy Kathman now, and others, over 110 stakeholders. Camoin, our consultant. We finished the economic development strategy. We identified through our 5 work groups 16 projects. Nate primarily was able to get funding through the Yevy Foundation and the Northern Chicago Community Foundation and the Ralph Wilson Foundation, well over almost $300,000 to launch and get this thing going, and continues to do that. So really proud of that. We spent a lot of time looking for suitable land to increase our industrial park and create more land for development. And we were able to secure $130,000 from the county, and we had a great parcel. We were negotiating. Linda was working on that, and it just didn't work. So we're actually really we've taken this. Well, I shouldn't say we've taken a step back. We're actually taking a step forward. We're working with the planning department. We're working with a consultant now. We're laying out all those properties that we think are suitable, looking at the infrastructure. And so I would expect by this time next year, we will have good news to report that we've purchased land. So I'm excited about that. We also inventoried all the county brownfields, suspected brownfields, or the properties that are in the brownfield opportunity areas, over 400. Looked at all of their infrastructure, size, any kind of environmental constraints, worked with the municipalities and other stakeholders and our consultant Prospect Hill. We worked with Invest Buffalo Niagara to identify suitable development sites, buildings. Invest Buffalo Niagara is managing an effort through Newmark Frank, with Newmark Frank as a consultant, to identify about 80 properties in the region that are prime for redevelopment, and so we got 6 out of those 80. So we're pretty excited about that. We worked with the Gabby Foundation, the City of Jamestown, and other stakeholders, along with our consultant, CNS Engineering, and also Harry Sickerman and Company, on this on the Chattacoin River Strategic Business Plan. That's almost complete. We're excited about that. We got some projects that we've carved out that we're going to pursue. Again, Christy's going to be working on that along with Nate and Monica. We work with the City of Dunkirk and other key stakeholders on the NRG reuse alternatives and feasibility study. That's almost complete. We talked to NRG yesterday about it. We got some other meetings and an unveiling plan in the coming weeks. So we're excited about the conclusions we came to on what makes sense there. I already talked about the eminent domain thing on Roberts Road. We also initiated a proactive business retention initiative with the business development managers, where they're really being proactive about contacting companies that we fear are at risk or unstable, or maybe are having issues, to see what resources we can bring to the table to help them. We revamped our website. I'm not sure I'd call it revamped, but we did some work on it, and we're thinking about in the future actually doing a total revamp. But we made some revisions to it to highlight the COVID-19 news bulletins for businesses. So we're putting all the news coming out of the state real time on there. And we also, by the way, answered hundreds of calls from businesses that were asking questions about COVID-19 and what they should do, and where are things at. Jeanette was on the front end of that, directing calls to the rest of us. And there's a lot of other stuff too, but also I didn't put this on the report, but we mentioned it earlier. Empire State Brands. We worked really hard with them. We were able to cobble together, I can't remember what it was, about 50 grand, I want to say, to help fund a feasibility study for them to look at the feasibility of creating an integrated hops and grains processing facility, which they are now leveraging to seek financing. And they were able to, we worked with them on this as well, get a large grant from the state, and ultimately to purchase the Telkit facility and get that thing going there. So that's kind of on the IDA side. I won't go through all the work plan, because I already did that a couple of months ago. I think it was in January. Actually, in January, I talked about what things that we really wanted to concentrate on moving forward. So you already all know that. And so one last thing, and I won't go through this either because I know I'm running long here. There's a lot of stuff going on with the other hat I wear, and probably Mark McDowell more than anybody is aware of a lot of this stuff. All the stuff that's going on at the planning and development side. what I do want to say about that is that a few years ago, the administrative code had been revised, and it kind of created two divisions within the Department of Planning. There was the Division of Economic Development and the Division of Planning and Community Development, and we revised the administrative code late in 2020 to actually kind of merge the departments. So it's one aligned department, and so that we're working closely together. We shut down the Welch. We moved out of the Welch building in Westfield. We had basically 3 offices. So now we have 2. All the staff from the planning and development is now in the Fredonia Technology Incubator and the BWB, and we're all working together. We're like really taking advantage of all our skill sets, and there's an excellent team over there with Rebecca Worster and Nate and Barb Molnar, Melissa Keller, Matt Borg, Brendan Cullen, and Dave McCoy. And so there's a lot going on there too, and I would encourage you to please, take a look at the report. You can see all the different things that are going on. So that's about it, other than to say that I'm really grateful to all the hard work of the board and the staff and the consultants. I think it's a really excellent year. Good. Is there any questions or comments or concerns?
Wow. I have to tell you, in my tenure on the board, and I'll let Greg comment since he's been on longer than I have, I don't think we've ever touched as many companies and as many different economic sectors as we did in 20. Helping them with COVID situations in this pandemic mode and reaching out to them, being extremely proactive. So kudos to the whole staff for all their hard work and excellent work in a very difficult time. So Greg?
Yeah, let me just underscore that, what you said, Mike, though I have been around a few years longer. What I find fascinating and just a feel-good moment is the number of public presentations, a number of public outreaches, being very proactive in a time when it was required to be proactive, but not only did they took the bait, but they ran with it, and did just an incredible job, unlike any other time. And we are in unlike any other times, and the IDA has risen to the occasion, and it has been recognized. And this is what's really heartening. We'll talk a little bit about this later, but it's been recognized on a statewide level, on a federal level, where funding sources have not only used the IDA as the model, the template that's been created, but also encouraged it to be more independent with its use of the funds, which is remarkable in a day and age when normally more restrictions are placed. Because of what the IDA's track record has been, it's being actually less. And that's a remarkable statement.
Yes, thank you, Greg. Any other comments from the board or from the staff?
Mr. Chairman, I'll interject, please. One more thing, as Chair of Planning and Economic Development for the County Legislature, Mr. Geis, perfect presentation, all points hit, and as usual, sometimes you underscore yourself. There's so much more going on behind the scenes, and we could talk on this for hours and hours. And we, as IDA board members, the staff, just for everyone's situational awareness, we're dealing with a lot of the bigger projects out there and handling them great and setting the bar, as Greg alluded to. Just want to make everyone aware, one of our channel partners within planning and economic development countywide, is putting up some astonishing numbers too. We just received, Mark, you probably saw this, the Small Business Development Center's annual report that just came out last week. I was reviewing that and had to take a double look because the numbers were almost double from last year. So I called Courtney Gertola, the director. Is this right? And go back checking against last year's numbers. He says, yes, Mark, it is. We're servicing double the clients despite COVID and still pushing the ball forward. So, on all fronts, whether it's the larger projects we're working on or just the startups and basic feasibilities out there, all fronts are being handled, in my opinion, in the county very, very well. Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Excellent points. Yes, we're just part of a larger cog, and but I think a driving cog. So, thank you. Any other comments?
Chairman, I just wanted to add how our loan committee had really stepped up during this time too. Not only were they super busy in their banking roles, but the demand that we put on them for all these different loan programs, they were always willing to meet and get things done in an expeditious way. It's like they really stepped up.
Thank you for recognizing them, Linda. Good point. And I have to tell you that our board member Hans is part of that loan committee. Yeah.
Thank you, Linda, for bringing it up.
Yes. No. Excellent point. Any other comments? Great year, unbelievable year in very difficult times. So, thanks to everyone. Now I'd like to move to Rich Station and the treasurer's report, please.
Hey, Rosie, you're on. Please put up the report. Make it a little bigger, Rosie, for me. Perfect. So here we take a look at the balance sheet for all of our funds except for the Partnership for Economic Growth, which I will tell you, just speaking on that, we're going to incorporate it in next year, but we're keeping it kind of standalone. But they had revenue of almost $200,000 and expenses of $157,000. So they showed a profit, and we carried some revenue forward there for next year. But as you can see from the balance sheet here, we're in a very nice position cash-wise. In the IDA and in CREDC, CRLF has a little money. The Altech has some money in it. Nothing extraordinary under the payables. You can go down a little more there, Kayla or Rosie. We will see under we have some deferred revenue under the last column. Go up a little, Rosie. Up, I got to see the top. That's under CREDC. Okay. All right. Let's see. If you look under bad debt reserve for the Altech fund, you'll see we're at $1.3 million for bad debt reserve. It's $400,000 more than we budgeted. So I did raise that an additional $400,000 after looking at all the loans. On a $10 million loan fund, that's less than 4%. We had to raise the bad debt reserve, which I thought was pretty good in the pandemic. If you look under the CARES Act, we have notes receivable of 2.2 there right now. We set up a bad debt reserve of $663,000. We're going to reserve 30% of that as we recognize the revenue. Mike will talk a little bit about the audit committee and what the accountants want to maybe do with the new fund and how they want to recognize the revenue. We'll talk about that later. If you could go on to the profit and loss statement, Rosie, for the next sheet. So a little higher, please. So again, all the revenue. Go down to the bottom, Rosie. Let's just talk. I want to hit the bottom line. So you can see the IDA had a very good year. CRLF, Alltech, we're down $719,000. There, the bad debt expense for the year was $768. You can see we expensed $663 in the CARES Act. And let's go to the variant report and talk about that, Rosie, on some of those variations. So on the revenue side, the first one I want to talk about is application and administrative fees. Very close to what we budgeted, except for the fact the Ball Hill Wind Farm I had projected would be to the point of construction where we could recognize all the revenue. They still owe us $300,000, and I did not recognize that revenue. The Ball Hill Wind Farm got sold early in the year to a Canadian company, and they did start getting their permits to clear trees, but they're not going to start construction now until the springtime here. And this year, they've actually hired some of the companies that were working on the CCIDA wind farm. So some of those companies are just going to move over to the Ball Hill, which is a little bit north of the CCIDA wind farm. The first project that was built was Arkwright. It was an 80 megawatt project. The project we're completing now, CCIDA, is a 120 megawatt project. That Arkwright, or the Ball Hill project, falls in the middle. That's a 100 megawatt project. So we're going to recognize that revenue next year. As you can see, we had quite a grant income other that we didn't budget for, and that is the CARES Act money that we had received. And again, depending upon how the accountants want to record that, that might change. Let's go down below, Rosie. So just a couple variances I'll talk about here. Payroll and benefits, $29,000. We accrue our vacation here. Our staff did not take a lot of vacation, none of us. It's hard to believe time just flew by. People did not take their trips. They didn't go anywhere. People put in a lot of hours working. I'm hoping they take their vacation next year. I hope we all do. But we have to accrue that vacation. It's not expensive. That's the majority of that. We did have some additional professional fees there, but we did get reimbursed for that. If you look above under other income, you can see that we did get income to pay some of those additional professional fees that we're moving through. The big bear in the room here now is our bad debt. We had budgeted $400,000. Our bad debt stands at $1.5 million. So we're $1.1 million over. Basically, $663 of that came from the CARES Act, $400,000 more on the Alltech fund. We'll be reviewing with the audit committee to see what they think, about that. But I think it's a good number. I think it's reflective, and I'm just glad I don't think it's going to be any worse than that, particularly in the Alltech fund. That fund's not to be as risky as the CARES Act fund, and we'll see how that plays out. Depreciation. Continue to pump some money into the Talcott Street building. I think we were down $70,000 this year in just capital improvements to a water pump system there. We would really like to get rid of that building ASAP. Mark and I talked to the county legislature committee about it. And if this project that we have going with Chris Raccarata doesn't go, maybe we'll get the approval to auction that building off, get it back on the tax roll, and get it out from underneath us. Now, we do take in almost $20,000 a month in rent. But we've got utilities, we've got insurance, and I hate going under there. I hate it. So that's where we are with the building. That's all I have on the report, Mike. Unless anybody has any particular questions, we'll get into some of that bad debt in the loan review committee or in the executive session.
Okay, thank you, Rich. Also, if you want me to drive up there, I'm there normally on a work. So, but yes, we're not in the real estate business. We don't want to be in the real estate business. We take these buildings to make sure that they are transitioned properly and to the right projects. So this one's held out a little bit longer than we anticipate, but given the times, I can see why. Any questions for Rich on the treasurer's report or any other questions? Hearing none, I'll ask for a motion to accept the treasurer's report as presented. Okay, I have a motion by Gary and a second. I'll take a second from Dennis. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Carried unanimously. Now the audit committee report, Rich?
Yeah, Mike, I'll let you take the water there and talk about that, but everyone got the minutes, but we met with BWB, and the biggest concern there is, of course, is the new $10 million CARES Act fund, so that's really all I have to say about it, Mike, unless you want to follow up with more stuff there.
No, well, Hans, I'll let you chime in after me. We met with in addition, Kelly Farrell Du Bois and Hans with BWB to identify scope of this year's audit, the timing of it, which will be completed in time for our respective board meeting. And at that point in time, BWB will be presenting the audit to you. The CARES Act needs and the bad debt calculations. We're in uncharted territory here. So we're going to be with BWB reviewing that very carefully to take a very conservative approach to identifying the bad debt for both of these respective funds. Hans, I don't know if you have anything additional.
Nothing to add, Mr. Chairman. Beautiful description of our meeting, and I guess we're up again March 16th. We're scheduled to meet again. So I will say it's nice to work with BWB because they have great working knowledge of our organization. So that brings me comfort on the committee.
Excellent point. Thank you, Hans.
That's all I have for that, Mike. You're muted, Mike.
I would entertain a motion to move into executive session for discussion of particular loans and any transition of property or personnel matters. Do we have a motion? Thank you, Mark. Do we have a second? Seconded by, was that Brad? Okay.
That wasn't me.
Okay. Stephen. Thank you, Stephen. Motion made by Mark, seconded by Stephen. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion carried unanimously.